Rebecca, Madeline is in, did you see her?
Yeah, I just promoted her.
Okay.
Right.
Let me double check. Sonoma TV. Let me see if they're here. Let me get them. Give us just a minute, Mayor King.
Count numbers or the count number, or we don't need it? Okay. All right. I will put your attention. Special meeting of the Sonoma State Council, Wednesday, January the 12th, 2022.
Hey, thank you.
At 4:34 p.m.
Why?
First of all, and we got the Pledge of Allegiance. I saw the Bob and the Felder has a flag. So then shall we start? All right. I do have the flag here. Yeah, maybe just here.
I think we have one too, Mayor Ding, that Latanya usually, if she has it available, we usually display, but you're welcome to use the one you have.
Yeah, I use this. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I pledge of the allegiance to the flag to
The United
America,
States of America and to the republic
For which it
for
stands,
which I understand one nation under the God, indivisible, with the liberty and the justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Felder,
present,
Councilmember Lowe,
Here.
Vice Mayor Barnett,
Here.
Councilmember Agramonte,
I think She's here.
She's here. We can't hear you, Madeline. By Mayor Ding.
I'm here.
Thank you.
According to the last special meeting, I needed to repeat the last times on the resolution. Basically, this meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provision of a governmental code section 54953 as of amended by BAB 361, which authorized the teleconference meetings under the Brown Act during the certain proclaimed state of emergency. The governor of California proclaimed a state of emergency related to COVID-19 on March 4th, 2020. This teleconference meeting is necessary so that the city can conduct essential business and is permitted under GC 54953 in order to protect the public health and the safety of attendees. Consistent with the GC section 54953, this city council meeting will be held with a teleconference only and will not be physically open to the public. City council members and the staff will teleconference into the meeting by audio and or video. The meeting will be conducted via the Zoom webinar. Right now we are using. All right, so let's go to agenda. Agenda number 3. 3.1, adopt the resolution to suspend the rule to reconsider a matter only at the meeting where the item was the first voted upon or at the very next meeting of the council. Note, requires 2 over the 3 vote of the council to pass. I would like to invite Council of City Manager, Mr. Choi, and the City Attorney, Jeff Warner. Could you please tell us on the background, legal ground, and what's happening for the Rosenberg Act and the difference between Rosenberg and Roberts? Thank you so much.
Okay, so hi, members of the mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I think what I'd like to do for this, to answer your question, we'll do that, and then I think the city attorney may want to chime in too. But I thought to make some things clear for your actions tonight is you really have 3 actions before you tonight, and they all have to be taken in the order listed on the agenda. And ultimately, what we'd be recommending is that you take actions 1 and 2 together in the context of receiving public comment before you make a decision. And that if you get as far as to make the motion to reconsider, then item number 3, which is really talking about the striping of Broadway, that you consider public comment for that item separately, again, if you get that far. So with regard to number 1, which has to do with the resolution to suspend the rules to reconsider a matter only at the meeting where the item was first voted upon or at the very next meeting at the council. Back in 2011, the council adopted Rosenberg's Rule of Order. Among other things, the Rule of Order talks about the reconsideration. And the rule is that you can reconsider the matter at the meeting or the very next meeting. However, there is an exception there, and that it allows the body, in this case, the city council, to suspend that rule. And that's what this resolution does. It would suspend the rule related to reconsidering the matter beyond the meeting or the very next meeting of the council. So that's kind of the first step you'd have to take, and that's a 2/3 votes, or 4 out of 5 of the council members would have to vote for that. Then, if that passes and you suspend the rule, then a motion can be made by a member of the majority who voted for the original item could vote to reconsider the matter. And if that passes by a majority vote, then you can go ahead and reconsider the matter. It'd be like considering it for the first time. So really, maybe for background for some of the people that weren't here, is back in August of 2021, August 2nd, the council actually had a discussion related to the matter in question to be reconsidered, which was the striping of Broadway. At that time, the council decided that it would go ahead and approve the reduction of the lanes from really 2 lanes in each direction with a 2-way left-hand turn lane to more of a 3-lane configuration, which is 2 northbound, 1 southbound at Broadway, and then McDonald to MacArthur. It'd be 1 lane in each direction with a 2-way left-hand turn lane. So that was the discussion at that time in August the council approved. And then it has to also approve at that time the bike lane configuration. And the bike lane configuration the council selected was what we refer to as a protected bike lane, which means the bike lane runs along the curb, then you have parking, then you have travel lane. So really that's what the item was that's being asked to be reconsidered. But again, the first step in the process is you have to vote to suspend the rule, then a motion from someone in the majority. And at that time, the council members who voted in favor of the configuration was then Vice Mayor Ding, Mayor Agramonte, and Councilmember Felder, and then Councilmember Barnett voted against it, and obviously Councilmember Lowe wasn't on the council at that time. So that's pretty much the steps you have to take, but you may want the city attorney to chime in on Rosenberg's rule and maybe if there's any differences with Robert's rule of
Recording
order.
in progress.
But again, we follow Rosenberg's, not Robert's rules of order.
Thank you.
Just a couple of comments, Mr. Mayor, if I might. One, I don't think we need to spend any time talking about Robert's rules of order. They don't apply. And I think we just create confusion in the minds of council and the public if we went to an extensive discussion of the differences. This council back in 2011, as the city manager indicates, decided to opt for Rosenberg's rules of order, which, by the way, the League recommends, the League of California Cities recommends that cities utilize Rosenberg's rules of order over Robert's rules of order. And as the city manager indicated, those rules indicate that a decision that was made by a council in a previous meeting cannot be reconsidered unless that main motion, I'll call it the main motion, is asked to be reconsidered at the meeting where the main motion was made, which in this case would be August of 2021, or at the next council meeting. And if that rule is not suspended, then this council does not have the power tonight to change its August decision regarding the striping. So that's why the suspension of this rule is item number 1. If you don't suspend that rule, then this matter tonight is concluded. There's no need to go further because, as I said before, the rule itself that the council adopted would prohibit reconsideration of that decision tonight. The city manager is proposing, however, that you, in terms of asking for public comment, you group the first 2 items together, meaning if people are opposed to the suspension of the rule and are opposed to you reconsidering the August decision, this is the time for them to talk about that. We will close the public hearing on those 2 items, bring it back to the council for the council decision as to whether you want to suspend the rule first. And if you do, with a 4/5 vote, then do you want to reconsider the August decision? If either of those actions fails, the evening is concluded. However, if both of those actions succeed, 4/5 of you decide to suspend the rule and a majority decide to reconsider, then we will have further information from staff and the city engineer on the actual merits of restriping. You would then call a second opportunity to the public to comment. You would conclude, you would close that comment portion, and then the council would make a decision on restriping. If there's anything that I've said that's unclear, please let me know.
Thank you so much. According to what you said, I may put in a second resolution that together we open to the discuss within the city council and also then later open to the public. Is that right? Right now, I just we just discussed about 3.1, number 1. So according to your suggestion, maybe we also needed to discuss number 2, put together, and then we discuss, and then we open to the public. Is that right?
No, I don't think so, but I'm not quite sure. This is the time for the council to ask questions about these 2 procedures, item 1 and item 2. If there are no questions, you understand the procedures, then you would open public comment to comment about whether or not they think the council should suspend the rules, number 1, and if so, whether or not the council should reconsider your August decision. This is the time then to ask the public to comment on those 2 items. You would then close the public hearing on those 2 items and bring it back to the council for the council to make decisions and to debate whether or not to suspend the rules, and if so, whether or not to reconsider. So you would then discuss that, debate it, and then take action on those 2 items.
Thank you.
That's the first thing to do. If
All
there
right.
are no further questions from the council about the procedures, then I would recommend, Mr. Mayor, that you open it up to the public for comment on items 1 and 2.
Thank you. All right. Vice Mayor Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor Ding. I have a question. Since I voted in the minority, I can't make the motion to reconsider, but can I be part of the vote for the 4/5 majority to reconsider?
Yes.
Okay.
You can make the motion to suspend if you wish.
And that's the first step.
Yes,
And so reconsideration is second step. Okay,
correct. But you cannot make the motion to reconsider.
got it. Thank you.
You can vote on it, but you can't make the motion.
Councilmember Agramonte.
I'm fine with what's going on. I understand.
All right. Councilmember Felder.
No questions?
All right. So right now, let me now open to the public.
We have several members of the public. Matt
All right.
Metzler is your first person, Mayor Dean.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Matt.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm in a hotel hallway because there's no Wi-Fi in my room. I'm out of town. So anyway, I have a lot to say about this. I am very shocked and disappointed that this is coming, that there's a special meeting being held on this. I think this is an extremely undemocratic process. We've been here, we did this. We had public comments. We had members of the public who spent a lot of time waiting to speak at city council meetings back in August, and the decision was made at that time. I don't understand why we're reconsidering this now. It just seems to me it's kind of a slap in the face to all the people who volunteered all their time to speak before the council back in August. Since I retired 5 years ago from working full time, I have volunteered a lot of time with the city, with the Community Services Environment Commission about various environmental issues. And this has just happened too many times where a decision is made and then later on, because people complain, the decision is reconsidered, is overturned. This happened to me with the Newcomb Street bike bridge, with the bicycle parking on the plaza. It always seems to be bicycle issues that the drivers have more clout, the people who want to drive cars have more clout and get the city council to overturn their decisions. This meeting was not announced to the public 72 hours in advance so that all of the people who spoke back in August could have a chance to speak again this time. And so that's why I think this is really undemocratic. And it really is discouraging to me as a member of the public who has volunteered my time over the years to assist with planning with the city's environmental commission, to have decisions that I thought were made and settled being overturned and reconsidered. And it's just extremely frustrating, and it's really undemocratic. And I hope that the city council will vote not to reconsider this, because you haven't given the public a chance to have 72 hours notice to make their feelings known on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler.
Next, we have Barbara.
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes, Barbara.
Thank you, Rebecca. I actually am very grateful that you're opening this up to look at it again. And I want to say that as a member of the community, I've been talking to a lot of people that, and having gatherings before we couldn't, about this. They were very surprised how this came down when they started to realize, and myself and I started to realize what this will do to our street and Broadway and traffic. And so I would like this to be brought up again so we can relook at it and discuss it from a perspective of our town again. I didn't get to hear the first one, so I can't speak to that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Next one, please.
Chris Weaver.
Good evening. Before I came to my present job, I was an organizational development consultant for 12 years. And I have held leadership positions in a variety of a lot of different organizations, as well as those that I consulted with in the course of that time. In one of my own organizations, we created a policy very similar to the one that you are looking at in the Rosenberg thing, to not reopen decisions unless and until there was a significant change in circumstances or significant new information, because we saw, and I have seen in many other organizations, exactly what Mr. Metzler was talking about, where things keep coming back and again and again and again, wasting time and taxpayers' money. To call a special meeting, there's nothing been in anything that's been put out to the public about this meeting that indicates that there's been a significant change in circumstances or any significant new information, and any reason to reopen it other than perhaps someone on the council who wants to change their vote, or some people who are in the public who are unhappy about what happened last time. Neither one of those, to me, seem a reason to overturn this policy that you have about decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver.
Next, we have Randy.
Tell me how many speakers right now?
It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, somebody keeps raising and putting their hand down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 or 6, Mayor Ding.
All right.
The next one is Randy Cook.
Because we are scheduled for another meeting, that's the 6 o'clock, for join a meeting, CSCC, and then we for sure, we needed to catch up at that time. So here I want to suggest public speakers, could you please reduce the regular 3 minutes to condense to 2 minutes? Guarantee for everyone get a chance to speak out. Thank you for your cooperation.
So we have Randy Cook.
Hi, Randy, it's your turn.
Mr. Cook, you need to unmute. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, can you hear me now? I should be unmuted. I see a smile there on Madeline's face. Does that mean that you can hear me?
There.
All right, then, we're communicating. Respectfully, Mayor Dean, I have a very simple suggestion. If you are short of time and you have another meeting at 6 o'clock, why not just refuse to reopen this item? It was settled in August. As the last speaker pointed out, there is no new information. There has been a change of council members, but that shouldn't produce a change of decision. I was quite shocked yesterday to read in the paper about this happening. I thought it was a done deal. I've been happy with the rainy weather, but now I'm kind of wish the drought had persisted a few more weeks so that we could have it all nicely striped now and this thing would be done and we could see what an advantage Plan B, the parking protected bicycle lane, is for the pedestrian-friendly atmosphere that this progressive city in a progressive county in a progressive part of the country is going through with to make itself more attractive to on-street passersby who want to shop in some of those Broadway businesses. They're currently coming to that corner and saying, oops, traffic, I'm going to go the other way. This will make it much, not only the bike lane will be protected from traffic, but the street and the storefronts with the nice trees that we already have and the bowouts and the people going by on foot and on bikes. It will continue to extend the beautiful ambiance of the plaza and allow businesses in that area to thrive. Now, of course, we're going to have to see this first. People are always afraid of change. France was upset when they built the Eiffel Tower. The stories are endless. So, of course, people have some cold feet about going this, but I am confident, and in many other places that are confident that this thing will happen. I have, for example, from the Salt Lake City Department of Transportation, they found that it increased retail sales when they took out parking and put in protected lanes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. One thing I want to, to point it out, I don't want to stop any public comments. I just say condense, speed up. You got the chance to speak, and also for sure everybody to get a chance to speak out. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
St. John Bain.
Good evening, everyone. My name is St. John Bain. I live on Oak Lane in Sonoma, and I'm extremely disappointed to have to be here speaking at this meeting. Following up, you'll hear some other comments from people like Randy and others. I'd like to provide a few data points. As previously noted, this motion to consider is being brought more than 5 months and 10 meetings after this vote was held, after a great deal of discussion, after a great deal of comment, public, and the matter's been settled. The striping of Broadway will occur in the fall of 2021 and was delayed to the much needed rain that we got, which is terrific, in October, November, and December. But according to the Caltrans employee, Jeff Weiss, the lanes on Broadway were scheduled to be painted this and next week. However, Caltrans was informed recently due to the calling of this meeting not to proceed as planned. As a result, this project may be delayed further. For how long? Do we know? According to Caltrans employee Vince Giacala, the traffic lights on Broadway, which currently are not working as designed, are resulting in traffic backing up. They can't be reset to be sensor-based until after the lanes are repainted. Mr. Giacala, like Mr. Weiss, expected the lanes to already be done, and they'd been working on this and next week without the rain if this wasn't happening. It's a tragedy. The individuals who called for this special meeting to make a motion to reconsider the August 2nd, 2021 decision seem to claim that they're concerned about bicycle safety, yet they never reached out to the Sonoma Bicycle Coalition. As members of the coalition may share, they do not agree that striping lanes per Plan B is dangerous and in fact support Plan B. City staff at the August 2nd, 2021 meeting addressed questions raised both about bike safety and parking spaces. There is no information upon which to base a motion for reconsideration. Ample time has been devoted to reviewing and discussing the striping
time, Mayor.
Broadway, and noted by Councilmember Felder, as he stated on August 2nd, when he was in favor of Plan B, that the matter was indeed not rushed, well considered, and it's been voted on. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Bain.
Next we have Claire Salat.
Good afternoon. My name is Claire Solat and I reside in the city of Sonoma. As asked to speak briefly, I'll condense my comments and happy to prepare and submit written comments with additional details. As many of you know, I'm deaf on my left side as a result of a condition called sudden hearing loss. What you don't know is that I'm an attorney and I've sat on over 24 boards and commissions. In this capacity, I've served as the chair of the Governance Committee for Publicly Traded Companies, the chair of the Public Issues Committee for one of the Bay Area's largest nonprofits, a member of various state bar and California commissions, and an advisor to numerous government committees and departments. Over the course of 35 years and well over 500 meetings, I have never before seen a body entertain a motion to suspend the time rule for a motion to reconsider by more than 5 months and 10 meetings after the initial vote. Rules and regulations enacted by oversight bodies are not undertaken casually. They're created to respond to serious concerns. Significant time, effort, and expertise are involved. Overriding a rule requires extraordinary circumstances, such as the circumstances that resulted in today's meeting having to be virtual. There is no plausible reason that this council should vote for suspension of the existing rule. Asking to suspend the time period allowed for a motion to reconsider now is a blatant attempt to misuse our governmental process, and the request should be unanimously denied. That said, in order for this motion to pass, at least 4 members of council must vote to allow the suspension. Council, the eyes of the city and its residents are on you. Voting to suspend this rule will show your lack of character, respect for proper governance, fitness to hold your position as a leader in the community. I urge you to vote against this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salat.
Next we have Harvey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to be very quick. I urge you to vote no to suspend the rule. I agree with many of the other comments earlier that it's really an injustice, and I'm kind of ashamed of the city council, and this being the father of your previous mayor, Logan Harvey. I say that with a great amount of respect that I used to have for you. The community should be moving towards, don't shake your head there. The community should be moving towards safer streets, a few more bike lanes to make this the community, tourist community that we all kind of want to have. Businesses will do better, etc. Again, please do not vote to suspend the rule. I think it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Next we have Scott Durkee.
Hello, can you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, I support all the legal arguments not to suspend, and I urge you not to suspend the rule. The city should encourage bike lanes and improve bike ped safety. That should be a priority. It supports local cycling and local business. Caltrans is ready to go, as we've heard already today. So don't delay. We have good weather. Let's get this done. And this meeting is being rushed. There's no way around it. You've told us to condense our speech. You only have until apparently 6 o'clock, as the mayor indicated, to get this done. And I don't think that's an appropriate meeting. Because I imagine more people will want to talk. And we're only talking about about 4 blocks. All of this is going on in a short distance. Okay? So I urge you not to suspend the rule. I urge you not to change the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durkee.
Next, we have Douglas Wood.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm a longtime resident of Sonoma. I grew up here. I attended Sonoma Valley High School. I left to go away to school. I moved back here with my children because it's a wonderful place to raise my family. I'm a bit flabbergasted as to why you are reconsidering a decision that you made 5 months ago. I urge you to vote no against this. I also want to speak with regard to public safety. And as an active bicyclist, well, not as active as I was when I was younger and more svelte, but still active. My child rides to Adele Harrison every day from his mother's house in El Verano. I myself, as a bicyclist and pedestrian, have encountered quite a few near misses in my long time as a Sonoma resident. And over a decade ago, I was active in advocating for some of the bicycle lanes that currently exist on 5th Street West, West MacArthur Street, and also on a portion of Napa Road as well. At that time, when bicycle advocates were advocating for these measures, we faced stiff opposition from primarily business owners, it seemed, who were concerned that this would limit their ability to make money. And what I urged the city council to do, and at the time I was living on Andrick Street and I had 2 young children, and I'd almost been hit numerous times trying to cross 5th Street West. And what I urged the city council to do then, and what I urge you to do now, is to prioritize public safety over people's inconvenience. Right now, trying to cross Broadway at Andrix is very challenging. I mean, you have to be about your wits to do it. God forbid someone should get hit in that crosswalk and be paralyzed because of how dangerous it is. I want all of you to think about that when you're thinking about reconsidering a decision that you made, which in my mind is the correct decision, to calm traffic.
2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Next, we have Chuck Young.
Mr. Young, it's your turn.
Mr. Young, you'll need to unmute to speak.
Maybe while he is unmuting, we can go to the next person and come back, Mr. Young. Lorelei Farmer.
Thank you. First of all, I don't even know why you brought this back up to be reconsidered. I have never been in favor of this. I have written several letters to the city council and to Jeff Wise. What I'd like to say is bicycle riders currently spend 99.9% of their time riding on the side of the road with the traffic going alongside of them. But lo and behold, you come to the plaza now and you go to the high school and vice versa, you're going to be now in a protected buffer zone for a whole 3 blocks. In the meantime, people parking and those traveling on Broadway have to be very cognizant of people and entering and exiting their vehicles. Plus, stopping traffic for people parallel parking and exiting their space. And I still don't feel any safer crossing Broadway at France and Andrix. I looked it up. 6,238 pedestrians were killed in 2018. 857 bicyclists were killed by vehicles on the road. Yet it seems to me the city council is putting more emphasis on the bicycles than the people that cross Broadway. Now, my big contention was I wanted to find a town in California that had one of these configurations. Well, lucky me, I went to San Diego to visit my daughter a few weeks ago, and we drove down a road that was configured just like this, approximately 3 blocks. Now, granted, it was commute time. My daughter told me the first time she came across this, she got in the lane behind all the parked cars. Now, you know, with all the tourists here in town, I can imagine this is not, because it happened to my daughter, it's going to happen to other people too. Now, if your goal is to slow down traffic during a commute time to a crawl, then you can't go wrong with Plan B. But what I didn't like was how close we were to the cars that were parked, that we were driving alongside. It wasn't like over on Spain Street where there was a little space. Now, I didn't get out my measuring stick to see if the width aligned with what is proposed on Broadway, but I literally could probably reach out my hand and touch the car as we were driving by. I'm in favor of changing it to A.
Thank you, Ms. Farmer.
Mr. Young, have you been able to unmute yourself? Shouldn't be, it looks like he's not able to unmute himself. I don't see him trying to, Mr. Mayor. Possibly
All right.
you can go ahead and proceed and then come back.
For the next one.
Okay. That looks like all of the individuals who have their hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So let's move on. I will close the public comments. I want to bring it back to on the council for further discussion.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, I would like to lead this off, please.
Sure.
I am the one who asked for this item to be reconsidered. I did this not with a quick, unthought decision, but for a very valid reason, I believe. When we voted on option B back in August for a protected bike lane, I voted in favor of it because I believe that in accordance with our circulation element, we were planning to have a road diet along Broadway, and having a protected bike lane as a part of that road diet and reducing the lanes from 4 lanes to 2 was appropriate. However, at that time, all we were presented were a couple of sketches of how the configuration would look that did not reveal detailed plans of how it would be implemented. It wasn't until last Friday that we as a council received detailed plans showing how the option B was going to be implemented. And this is the reason that I decided, after due consideration, that this should be addressed again, because a protected bike lane is a very viable and good concept as long as it's properly implemented. But the plans, the details that we were shown last Friday had a couple of issues that were significant enough that I felt this ought to be readdressed. And hopefully we could still preserve a so-called protected or buffered bike lane, but without the other problems that this implementation of the design was going to cause. The first one is the accounting for bulb outs. Ideally, a protected bike lane should run along the curb in a straight fashion without having to go in and out around bulb outs and into the parking area as a matter of course throughout the length of the bike lane. The second, and to me, just as significant implementation was the manner in which they were proposing to delineate the parking lane and the bike lane. The proposal calls for a row of 2-foot-high bollards stretching for a half a mile from MacArthur to Napa Street on both sides of the road. And if you are familiar with what these look like, you could just go to First Street West and see a short distance of what these bollards would look like. And now picture this in your mind on our main street coming into the plaza, of having these bollards sticking up for 2 feet on both sides of the road. Not only is it unsightly, but it is a maintenance nightmare because these bollards are going to get knocked down and whatever. So what I was hoping to do was to approach reconsideration on this item to go back to a configuration that does reduce the lanes from 4 lanes to 2, as we had voted on in August, but to do it in a more sensible manner where we have a bike lane which is straight and protected, but we also preserve the parking along the curb by the bulb outs so that we don't take away parking spaces for the bike lane to move in and out from the curb, and to produce a much better visual environment for people entering our town. So it isn't that I'm trying to change what we in concept had voted on in August. I'm only trying to produce a result that's going to be far more acceptable and pleasing and suitable for the entrance to our town. If we had a clean slate where we could have removed the bulb outs, if we could have put in a curb between the parking lane and the bike lane, I would have still been in favor for that concept to move forward. But the manner in which it is being implemented, according to the drawings, to me is totally unsuitable. And so all I'm asking is that we revert to option A and still keep the bike lane, still keep the road diet, but do it in a manner that is more suitable for everyone in this town to accept. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Felder. Vice Mayor Barnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor Ding. I have a couple questions. I have a lot of information I would like to share with the rest of the council. Obviously, we need to get to the point where we can talk about that. Is this the appropriate time to discuss some of that? Because, for example, I have input and thoughts about Plan B from our fire chief, from our police chief, and I think it's really important the council knows that. But do I say it now, or do we need to reconsider it first? Because I don't want to get into a situation where these very important thoughts from public safety are not allowed to be shared with the council. So how would you suggest we do that, Mayor Dick?
Thank you, Vice Barnett. From my side, I think, it's necessary. We can consider, right now, we already opened this reconsider.
Yeah.
We should consider. However, we have a timing issue. Does Caltrans, they have the schedule? And also for the detail, I would like to ask City Manager, Mr. Toy. Could you?
Well, can I just, let me just finish real quick.
All right.
This decision that was made in August originally and potentially being reconsidered tonight is probably one of the biggest decisions I can think our city will make in decades. And so if we bleed into the next meeting, I think that's more than okay, because I can't think of something more critical than getting Broadway right. And so I would personally, I would like to make a motion. I don't know if Councilman Felder did, but I think it's definitely something that we need to reconsider. So I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules. And I do that because I think there's been a lot of discussion tonight about democracy. And, you know, I didn't even really think about democracy when we were just talking about trying to get Broadway right. But, you know, some of these Santa Rosa bike activists have been talking about democracy. And it made me think of Thomas Jefferson, who obviously cared a lot about democracy. And Thomas Jefferson said democracy depends on an educated citizenry. And in my view, this council was not educated in August on fundamental elements of this plan. And so in my view, if we're going to really bring democracy home, I think we need to get all the information out there, get all the facts out there, get all the plans out there, and discuss this and get Broadway right. And that's why I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Well, could I ask a question? Does that mean if we accept that, we stop talking? There are other council members who would like to speak. Could you, Jeff, could you enlighten me?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeff, could you
Yes,
enlighten me?
you go ahead, Councilmember Agramonte. Yeah, you can talk. It's your turn.
No, I'm not saying that. I just want to know, does that mean we have to stop talking about when other council members haven't had any input?
No, no, no.
Yes. Yeah.
No, there's been a motion. It's often the case that some councils actually don't allow debate until a second has been posed to a motion, and then there's debate by everybody.
Right.
So you can speak your mind even before a second has been posed.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. So it's interesting. You know what? I'm dumbfounded, not for any reason plus or minus. I'm dumbfounded that we weren't given this information in the beginning, because you newer members, people are sitting here, I don't care what they say about Caltrans, staff, we're in trouble. We're the ones that are going to get blamed for this because we should have known this before, but we didn't have that information. We've been put in a horrible position. I mean, there wasn't a total agreement, and that was okay. That was okay. But for a new issue to come up so late in the game, and guess what? No one's ever told me what the deadline is for Caltrans. I haven't heard that yet. So maybe nobody has given me an actual date. Maybe there isn't a date. I think there was a date of starting painting, but maybe they could go to Lodi and finish a job and come back. I have no idea. I don't know why I on Lodi all the time, but maybe that's it. But you know what? There are 6 bulb outs in Sonoma, and boy, you can correct me because I took my staff assistant, my wonderful husband, who was so annoyed back and forth up in Broadway. That's one. No, so I want to tell you there are 6 bulb outs. 4 are at curbs. 1 is at where the chamber is, and another one is up in at Sonoma. And but the other ones are at curbs. So I don't know if that makes a difference at all here. I don't know. So I just wanted to let everyone know this council is at a great loss, because I trust that what this council works on, does, and feels. We had no information, but regardless, we're going to get blamed. I answered over 50 emails last night. And like everybody, I think Broadway needs to be safe for pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers alike. That's just the way that is. So it's unfortunate, Bob, that you brought this up. I mean, it's fortunate because it's meaningful, but why did it happen? Why? I don't understand. I don't like this. I don't like it when I don't have all the information, because I know the bottom line will get blamed. Whether we do right, wrong, up or down, we're still going to be wrong. That's it. I'm fine. I think Sandra.
Lower. Do you have any other comments from you?
Are you calling on me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, this is very awkward for me, because I will tell you that, as was pointed out, I was not on the council when this decision was made. I was at the meeting. I expressed my concern about bicyclists on the sidewalk, which is a huge concern of mine because it's very unsafe for the pedestrians. And so creating a bike lane is important. You know, the configuration of it was decided and so forth. This meeting, I've had very little information about it. I was out of town. I was not really privy to the information that you're referring to, Mr. Felder. I tried to get some information on Monday. I was told I was going to have a staff report on Monday, did not receive it. Tuesday, things came in rather late, and there were drawings that I'm sure will be explained should these motions pass. But at this point, I feel like a motion for reconsideration is done by the body that made the motion, of which I was not part of. I'm very much in the lurch on this thing. You're talking about things that I don't know. That being said, I will respect the council's decision to move this forward and discuss it. But for my vote, I can't vote to reconsider something that I never considered in the first place. And I find it really difficult because this meeting is a little bit of a combination of last minute and why did we wait so long, which is a weird combination. I wish that this had been done sooner. I don't know. I think we need to fix whatever processes are going forward so we have more information. But I think that the people who made the decision are based on reconsideration, that's what you're supposed to do. The people who made the decision are supposed to reconsider it. So I will respectfully defer to the four of you who had that information and who have received this new information. And I apologize for not having been in the loop at that time and not being in the loop now. And I can't support this going forward because I just don't even have the information to warrant it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. Vice Mayor Barnett, please.
I have a procedural question for the city attorney. This takes four. I don't think it's 4/5. Isn't it 2/3? Or what is the percentage that is required to suspend the rules?
Am I understanding? Suppose
I guess my question is
4 over the 5. 4 over the 5.
Is it 4 out of the 5 or is it 2/3?
I think
4 over the 5. Yeah.
Through the mayor, it's a 2/3 requirement instead of a simple majority, but in our case with 5 members, it requires us to have 4.
Right. So my question is, if Councilwoman Lowe abstains, would 3 out of 4 be 75% and count?
No, she counts for the quorum, so it needs still 4.
So her abstention does not affect the denominator.
And I didn't say I was going to abstain.
Well, I was just suggesting. I mean, I was trying to make that possible if you wanted it. But okay.
Thank you. I considered that as well, but I don't really have a conflict. I just don't think it's appropriate for me to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me say something. We have been for this project for years, at least 2 years, back and forth, back and forth. So basically, I always believe that is good things are always overwhelming, back and forth. So that means that, that is the value of a democracy, back and forth. So some of the public comments mentioned about if you reopen, it is not, for the democracy. I don't believe. And also, this is number one. Number two is when the council member Felder raised this issue, want to open this case again for reconsideration. Basically, he supported bike lanes and also for further safety consideration for the bike riders. So now, when I received a phone call from a city manager, Mr. Toya, I figured out the right away. So that basically Mr. Felder's intention is totally for we have the bike riders. So here I want to make an explanation. And we were just to see, which one is it better? We have an option A and an option B. So as to the option A or option B, that is a lot of the technical issues we needed to figure out. And also Council Member Agramonte also for her visiting, for her trip, already in the content. And how many spots we're losing, and how many, parking the cars we can park around the curb. So that all these kind of details we needed to reconsider. And also, I think this is a big issue. This is a Broadway, the last part of the El Camino. We should protect it. It'll get it better. Of course, we cannot let everybody to please. However, we can work together, grow together. We can gather more common grounds. For example, Council Member Felder just mentioned, he wants to work it out. What is the best way for bike riders? So that is wonderful. That is our common parts. So from my side, I want to suggest, hold this project for a while, and Mr. Toya maybe contact with the Caltrans and see they can do some other favor, and we change the schedule. In this way, when we can get reviewed it again, and then we will feel more comfortable, more confident to protect the bike lane. That is my points. So that basically I support, Bob Felder's, the suggestion. I'm not sure that it's so-called proposal or not. Maybe we went and pay some of the price, and with the Caltrans, because they already have the schedule next week or next 2 weeks. But again, in order to protect the Sonoma and also in protect the democracy, we are afford to pay this price. So please ask Mr. Toya, maybe tomorrow you should work with them. And also if you have some comments, yeah, please.
So, Council, so the difficulty here for staff is we have a lot of information to provide, but to get into that level of detail assumes that you're moving on to talking about this in greater detail. So I think rather than trying to do that, is there something that you need right now within your discussion to consider the motion to suspend that would help you decide one way or the other? I think the one question I can answer is our latest discussion with Caltrans today is that their schedule is complete the striping, I think by the beginning of February, no later than February 3rd. So next week they would track it, and then at some point move forward with the striping. That was the reason for calling the special meeting today prior to your CSCC, and that meeting could start later. And the reason for that was to provide some guidance to Caltrans sooner rather than later, and to see if we put things on hold, what that means. And we have more information on that if you decide to go that route of what that means if the council were to change from, say, assuming the council stuck with the travel lanes, if you wanted to move from a protected bike lane to a buffered bike lane. And so, but with that being said, unless there's specific questions for staff that would help a specific council member in your decision, then I think probably at this point, really you have a motion on the floor with the first and the second, and then it just be a matter of just more questions, discussion, or if you want to call for the question.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Council members, fellows, do you have any other points?
You're muted.
Yeah, muted.
Sorry. I don't want to delay this unnecessarily, and I think that what I'm asking for is just to move to a better option rather because of the implementation of what we were presented as just last Friday is just unacceptable. So I'm hoping that we can move ahead and get into that discussion if need be, but I'd like to call the question at this point.
All right. All right, I think it's time for us to make a motion. We want to move forward, or we just let it close the case? Looks like, yeah.
Well, there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded to suspend the rules, so we just have to take the vote.
Yes, that means that a motion that is, we would like to put this case reconsider. But we need to ask city manager, Mr. Toy, contact with the trans, but of course, we will have maybe the second special meeting and technically to find a resolution. And that is the one option. The second option is, yeah, we don't want to change anything. We just close out, and then we just keep the August 2nd, that is proposal option B as it is. And then
Mr. Mayor, I think
first.
All right.
Yeah, I think you got to take the motion on suspension, then we could talk about the motion to reconsider, and then we could talk about the next steps.
All right. So I want to put to the motion.
Mayor Dean, would you like me to call for the roll call for the motion that's on the floor?
I would like, I think
we have a motion and a second on the floor
right now, or we don't need it to open the public?
No, we already did that. We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll proceed with the roll call that's on the floor. Councilmember Felder?
Yes.
Councilmember Lowe?
Abstain.
Vice Mayor Barnett?
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte?
No.
Mayor Ding?
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion carries, or how is that,
No,
Jeff?
the
I'm
motion
sorry.
fails. The
Fails.
Motion, you needed a 4 out of the
4.
5.
Thank you.
Wait,
Okay, so the motion.
Councilwoman Agramonte, do you know what you voted for?
Well, yes, I do.
What did you vote for?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't think it's any of your business how I feel. I think Broadway has to be safe for pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers. And I agree with Mr. Felder with what you've said. How do we get into looking at that?
Well, that's what he's trying to talk about.
Yeah, you should say yes.
That's what he's trying to talk about.
I don't feel that I should vote that because it's going to move into the big controversy again. We don't want bikes on Broadway.
No. He just, former Madam Mayor, Councilman Felder just said that he supports bike lanes on Broadway. We're trying to talk about the implementation.
That's not, well, you know what? I think we have to do something. So
hold on. I thought we were getting to a point where I could talk about the police chief has some input he would like to share. The fire chief will have some input that he would like to share. You know, we're talking about democracy. I mean, I think it was really important. I mean, this can still go forward as option B. We just want to be able to talk about it.
I don't believe it will. I don't. In my heart,
So-
I don't believe it will.
Maybe
If
council.
we can, through the mayor, if we can just allow it to suspend the rules and make a motion to reconsider, we can go through all of the options again, or we can decide that what we have with either option A or option B is an acceptable option. But if we can't get to that point, Council Member Agramonte, we're going to go ahead and have something that I think is an absolutely abhorrent design implementation for option B.
We just want to talk about it.
We want, yeah, and we can't even talk about it unless we have 4 votes.
Like, so you don't want to hear from the police chief, Madeline?
No, I don't care what the
You don't care?
No.
Well,
Aaron, the fire chief.
Well,
I know. I live here.
Yeah, so do all of us.
But not the chief.
Well, speaking of democracy,
you know what? I think this is a very difficult thing. And we are going to be at each other because we were never given the right information.
so you don't want the information? Madeline, I'm actually trying to understand your train of thought here. You don't want new information.
I don't trust that this is going to move in the direction that we are still going to support bicyclists.
Are you kidding me? Councilman Felder, what? I mean, are you
That's the
serious?
last thing I would
Yes.
want.
Yeah.
Madeline, with all due respect.
Yeah, Mr. Toya, do you have anything you want to say?
So I think we just need to point out, I understand the council's concerns here, and probably the city attorney can chime in, but just to be clear, you voted on the suspension of the rule for consideration and you needed 4 out of 5 votes. You received 3 in the affirmative, 1 no, and 1 abstention. So that means you did not meet the 2/3 threshold, or 4 out of 5, which means you didn't suspend the rule for discussion. Set aside whatever, decisions of each individual council member, what you consider in making that decision. So unless there is a motion to reconsider your reconsideration, I think.
Would Councilwoman Lowe be open to reconsidering her abstention? Just to get the information out there? I mean, this is stunning to me that we have a member of our council that doesn't want to hear from public safety. I mean, I have a letter from our fire chief here that I would love to read.
I feel very conflicted about this, Mr. Vice Mayor. I quite honestly, I came with, full
I agree.
open,
I understand.
and I have not received information. I was not part of the vote.
Well,
reconsideration is usually the same people, etc. But I had assumed that, and listening to Ms. Agramonte earlier, that she was wanting to hear this information. What I might suggest is there a way that we can hear this information at a subsequent meeting? As I said, I never even received anything until very, very late yesterday. Is there a way to look at the information that Mr. Felder has referred to and the information that you've received, and have another meeting to be able to share that information that is a different meeting than this, perhaps, that we can in a regular meeting? I don't know.
What I would say is that we are running out of time, and public safety is 100% against option B for various reasons. I would love to tell the rest of the council, but we have a Councilwoman Agramonte who apparently doesn't want to hear from our fire chief and our police chief, even though Councilman Felder has already said he supports bikes on Broadway. And so I'm just stunned that Broadway is about to go in a way here because Madeline doesn't want to hear from people. I mean, is that what you're saying, Madeline?
Well, we're not ready to have more discussion. I'm not ready to have more discussion. We're voting right now. So why would I listen?
I'm concerned there's some confusion here.
Well, I haven't lost my mind. I'm voting right now the way I believe.
Yeah.
So Sandra, what are you saying?
And what do you believe?
Yeah, let me say something. It's a little bit confusing. Mr. Water, is it possible we can have another meeting, discuss a little bit more, and then we have the motion? Or we already got an motion, we cannot put in another motion because this motion has been failed, right? We needed the 4 votes. Basically, if according to this kind of situation, vote result, we want to stick with the option B, right?
Well, it's an interesting question.
Bob, you're muted.
Theoretically, let's see, this motion has been acted upon. The council has voted. And unless Ms. Agramonte is willing to change her vote, the motion to suspend the rules has failed. That means tonight's meeting on this issue is over. However, that does not preclude agendizing a general discussion about the issues that Councilmember Felter and Vice Mayor Barnett have brought up with some advance notice of the kind that Councilmember Lowe is talking about, to give the council a chance to look at some of this information before a public meeting. Now, my only concern is I don't know if there's time to do that in a way that would be meaningful or effective. I need to research whether or not the motion to suspend that has failed can be reconsidered itself. I don't know that. The majority in this case is the minority. The prevailing parties were the 2 folks who vote either against or abstained. And I don't know whether there's an opportunity for them to then move to suspend the rules, to reconsider suspending the rules. I mean, you can imagine how many different steps it's going to take to get to the merits of this matter at this procedural juncture. And I'm just not clear about how that is to be unwound. The rules do allow reconsideration either at tonight's meeting or at our next meeting. And I'll have time by that time to see whether that's even possible. But it seems to me the question is, if we have, for example, we set aside a time during our next meeting, which is on the 19th, to discuss these issues, is that too late as far as Caltrans is concerned? I just don't know that issue, that question.
Are we sure that the abstention?
I think the Caltrans issue is not the biggest issue. It's because compared to the Caltrans, just that they arrange the different, the clues come back or whatever. Because I realize this is really, really the big issue. Yeah, we should take care, very nicely, protect the Sonoma and also protect the. We just talk about those kind of political idea. I didn't think, this issue is involved too much, just technically, and for the option A and option B. Yeah, go ahead, Vice Mayor Barnett.
Yeah, I would like to ask city staff a couple questions. One, why was public safety, why was the fire department, and why was the police department never consulted on this plan, A? And B, now that they have been consulted, because I reached out, because city staff didn't, and they have come in extremely concerned about the ability to have first responders, wildfire evacuation, every other thing with these bollards, meaning public safety supports option A, not option B, with the parked cars and the bollards. And so, regardless of whether Madeline doesn't want to hear from them or not, we are about to go forward with a with a plan that is directly opposed to public safety. How are you going to fix this, city staff? I'm talking to you, Garrett. How are you going to fix this?
Yeah, I know. So if it's on. So here's my understanding. Public Works did talk to at least fire, but not for forum position. I actually talked to the chief prior to this meeting to talk about all these things. We talked about things. He sent out email. They do prefer option A. They obviously can live with option B. I think at this point for the council, just to answer your question related to Caltrans.
I'm sorry, where do you say they can live with option B? I'm reading an email here where strongly supportive. I mean, it's a 3-page email on how horrible option B is. So I wouldn't sugarcoat it, Garrett.
Well, I think I'm saying if you did option B, they would live with option B. The chief, I indicated the chief, he can and share whatever his position would be. So related to evacuation incident, and you go through the things, and that's a portion of Broadway is wider, but it does crunch down to being narrower as you go further north. So
this is a disaster.
So for the council, if the council wanted to next Wednesday talk about this from perspective of not just getting information, we can do that. But it's just informational. It wouldn't change your direction unless somehow you could reconsider what action that you took. What happens is if the council feels strongly enough, and some reason you can suspend the rule again or reconsider that or whatever. And I don't know, it sounds like the city attorney would have to research that. Then what happens is we would tell Caltrans to only stripe the center portion of the road per the lane reduction, but not do the bike lanes. We'd be responsible for the bike lanes. And if you had gone, then what happens is we would report to you what we think that would actually cost. There'd be significant costs and there would be time delays, no question, because there's no way there'd be no way to get everything to Caltrans and their stripers and their contractors by the time they want to get done. And they do want to believe the date is get everything done by February 3rd.
Well, I wanted to offer this, Vice Mayor Barnett, I wanted to offer this.
Yes. Olive branch, maybe?
About this months ago, we wouldn't be doing this now.
I know, I totally agree with you, but we have a chance to talk about it now. like we have to get this right for 20 years, Madeline. Like, why are we just like, forget it? I mean, let's just try to get it right now. That's all I'm asking. I would like to be able to read this email. I would like to be able to read this email from the fire chief. I would like to be able to read some stuff. And I mean, it sounds like I assumed it's going to go toward option A, which, by the way, I don't like either. But I just assumed that we would be able to talk about the benefits of option A versus option B, which I don't support either. But the council majority supports whatever. I just wanted to be able to talk about that before Caltrans stripes. That's all.
All right,
Madeline.
Our attention, please, because the time is running. We do have a next scheduled meeting. I figure out we don't have a lot of the differences from the here right now. Either one, if we keep this motion active, we fail. Just we stick with the option B. However, we are in the Sonoma. We have the Sonoma way. We can do the better. From today's meeting, I think nobody, at least the majority, went against any of the bike lane at all. So now, after this meeting, and then I think we leave it open, and then we can discuss it again. How about Mr. Toya?
Okay, how about this? I'll consult with the city attorney. We'll figure out what we could put on for the 19th. At the minimum, the traffic engineer would be showing you the two plans and what your approved plan is going to look like. So you can at least have that discussion, even if it doesn't change the decision. But give us time to figure out what to put on for the 19th.
Can I ask if,
wait.
I'm sorry.
Oh, wait.
Oh. I should raise my hand. I'm sorry.
No, Sandra, go ahead.
Yeah, Sandra.
I just, it concerns me, I don't like to just make a decision if I haven't seen the information. And I really think that if, the information that Bob referred to, the information that you have, Mr. Barnett, we should look at it. It's important information. And what I'd like to do is put on the agenda for next week, have someone explain the implementation, because perhaps the drawings that were voted on by y'all back in August, something has changed. It's different. I mean, and if that's the case, the public needs to know about it. You know, of course we do, but the public does. And part of my abstention and concern was I didn't feel like the public really had understood what was going on, and I couldn't really explain it to them. So I would like to see, you know, what is happening with the plan implementation, and perhaps after we see that and everybody understands the changes that maybe came up, we can have, maybe there's changes we can make that are administrative and don't require a whole lot of procedure, you know. And, you know, I'm hearing that people will support a bike lane, and that's important. But we need to see this information and have it explained to us, because we're making decisions in a vacuum here, and that's not fair to us, and that's not fair to the public. So I'd like to see it and be able to hear this information,
right.
and have the public safety folks come and speak to us about it.
So, Garrett, will that be enough time for Caltrans to change their mind or change what they do after January 19th?
Caltrans is going to move forward with, Caltrans indicated that they are going to move forward with the striping, but if the city does put things on hold, at a minimum, they could do just their center portion, and then we would have to come back and do whatever striping we wanted for the bike lane. And there's
and also, I do have another concern.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Temporary in the striping. That is not, you know, the good. And also, it's another safety issue. Yeah. If we want to do something, we needed to do, you know, make a decision as quick as possible. Because right now, bother the people.
I have a question from our attorney. So I think this is really a healthy discussion. I still fear that there's going to be a movement back, a groundswell to support no bikes on Broadway. And I believe no matter what you say, people from Santa Rosa, you know what? It's time for Broadway to be safe for pedestrians, for bicyclists and drivers. And this is what we have to remember. So I'm asking our city attorney, what position am I putting this everyone in? And I want to let you know, reception on the television, KSVY, is bad. It's horrible.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor Barnett, could you
Yes.
please, you know.
Councilwoman Agramani, I swear on everything that is good and holy, on everything, that if you vote to reconsider your vote right now on just suspending the rules, this will go forward with a buffered, serious bike lane that Broadway has never seen before. The question, I as a pundit here,
I'd include my
because
body, but
I guarantee you it's either going to be option A or option B at the end of this discussion, Madeline. I guarantee you it is going to be a bike lane on the curb or next to the traffic, but there will be a buffered, divided, nice bike lane with only 2 lanes of traffic if you decide to move forward with the discussion. I guarantee you, I swear on, I mean, this is recorded. Everyone can see this. I guarantee that's going to happen. I just would love to be able to discuss it. So what do you say, Madeline? Would you like to
Please stop right now. Yeah, everyone. I think the meeting should have been over right now.
well, it doesn't have to be. I'm
continue
sorry.
to talk.
I
It's
had a
not a
question
fair.
for the city attorney.
Mayor Ding, we're going to run out of time.
I had a question for our attorney about 5 or 7 minutes ago.
And can we now postpone the meeting after we have the, you know, scheduled meeting? Or because right now the time is running out. I don't want to miss out on the scheduled meeting. Stick with this. You know, we have so many items we need to take care.
That other meeting goes on without us, I believe, no?
Yeah, that one's the environment committee also is important. Also scheduled. If we miss that time, it's not fair for the environment committee is in the meeting, right?
Mayor Ding,
I agree with you, Mayor Ding, but I don't want Broadway, in my view, to be ruined for 20 years because we had to get to the CSEC, you know? And so we can take a half an hour more to talk about this and to get some more information out there so Caltrans can move forward with the correct information. I think that would be a 20-year benefit to the city of Sonoma. And I think the CSEC would understand.
To the mayor, can I ask the city attorney a question? Have you determined that we can reconsider that vote in this meeting?
I have not determined that. I don't know if you can or not. I don't know who's part of the majority. And a motion to reconsider requires a person in the majority to move to reconsider.
Well, I'm willing to make that motion. I'm part of the majority.
I guess there was a majority.
No, I'm not.
It just
Well,
isn't sufficient.
Well, it's the majority.
Yeah, what's the majority?
Yeah, I agree with
questions I don't have an answer to
Except
tonight.
for Sandra.
I don't have an answer to these questions tonight. I need to take some research on it. And we would certainly be prepared to have this teed up for the 19th. I don't know whether that's too late. I'm hearing from Mr. Toy it might be a little too late. But if the council were to make a decision that night that's different than what Caltrans is planning to do, I don't know, and that information was passed on to the Caltrans on the 20th. I do not know if this 1 week delay is pivotal or not. And I don't know if Mr. Toy does.
Do we have a special meeting on Friday?
No.
Did someone say
You
no?
mean this?
Anyway,
you mean this Friday?
Yeah.
I think
It has
that
to be
here
posted
we
24
have a
hours,
lot
though.
of the moving the parts.
Sunday?
Again, according to Mr. Water, you know, you are on the legal counsel. And then right now it looks like a lot of the, you know, compliance issue. So you cannot make a decision right now. And also we cannot either. So now, again, it's the time for us to adjourn this meeting right now. Whatever, based on, we have the tape, we have the everything, we have the votes, and then we make the analysis and the later to make an interpretation after the meeting. I would like to adjourn the meeting right now, and then we discuss this issue, reconsider or non-reconsider. Also, I figured out we have some of the legal issue in here. So postpone. We need to move forward. We have a lot of issues needed to, you know, discuss. Today, definitely is not a good time.
So, Mr. Mayor,
yeah,
as
Toy.
clarification, based on this council discussion, I'll work with the city attorney, and by the 19th, he'll have a position, and then we'll figure out how the agenda is. What we think we can agendize on the 19th, whether that's a reconsideration plus the same type of actions or more of informational item on what the striping plan looks like. Just so you know, for Caltrans, ultimately, once we figure that out, if you can reconsider the suspension and vote on it again, anything you do related to change anything from the current option will have an impact on the project. We can report on that then. So it doesn't matter whether it's today, Friday, or it doesn't matter if it's Friday or Wednesday, it'll have the same impact if the council ultimately could reconsider the matter and choose a different option for the bike lane. The only thing that stays the same for Caltrans timing wise is if we continue with option B, but we'll wait to the 19th before we say anything to Caltrans one way or another, assuming it can be reconsidered.
So I have a question.
All right.
City attorney. Jeff, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know what about the Brown Act or anything, but can Bob talk to Sandra regarding his concerns, or is that an issue?
No.
If he's talked to no other council member about this issue in private, then he can talk to her in private.
All right. Again, mine and the fellow and the council members, I would like to, I'm sorry, I'm afraid we cannot keep going. So right now, I want to close the meeting and waiting for further information. from Caltrans, and from the legal advice from the Mr. Water. Meeting is over, and see you later. Thank you.
Mayor Ding,
Yep.
because we ran into the next meeting, I'm not going to close this window. This meeting's going to stay, this Zoom is going to stay open because it's the same link. And we have
All right.
members for the next meeting. If you want to take a break, we can. But just to be aware for everyone listening, the recordings may be a little wonky until we can separate them because it's one. Otherwise, it'll lose the meeting. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you.
We have the 5 minutes break. Thank you.
Oh, boy. Richie. What?
If members in the CSC can raise their hand if they're still in the attendee list, that would be really helpful. Matt, I see you. John, I see you. Richard, if you're in the panelists, you're good. I just need to see if we're missing anyone in the attendee list. Any of you see anyone that I'm missing in the list?
Travis.
Oh, I need to put Travis in. Oh, Kimberly. Sorry, Kimberly, it threw me because it says Simon. Let me get Travis.
I see a question from Simon about how to get in. Kimberly,
Yeah.
is that taken care of?
Yes, it just, like I said, it threw me because it said Simon rather than Kimberly.
Yeah, me too.
I'm in.
Okay. Wendy. Tanya, can you try and promote Travis and Wendy? I can't seem to make them promote for some reason.
Yes, I'll try now.
Thank you.
All right, I think Raina is ready. Good evening, everyone. I call to order for the meeting, special joint meeting of Sonoma City Council and Community Service and Environment Commission. Wednesday, January 12, 2022, 6:17 p.m. First of all, I would like to invite Fred and Alabak lead us for Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you, Jack. I'll start the pledge right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Alabak. Welcome, please.
We'll start with the City Council. Vice Mayor Barnett.
Here.
Councilmember Felder.
Here.
Councilmember Agramonte.
Here.
Councilmember Lowe.
Here.
Mayor Dean.
Here.
Thank you. Let's let the record show that all of the council members are present. The Community Service and Environment Commission, Commissioner Olivak,
Present.
Commissioner Blattner,
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly. I see him.
Here.
Commissioner Metzler,
Here.
Commissioner Morrell,
Here.
and Commissioner Weiss. Thank you. The CSCC members are all present.
Thank you so much. Seems like everyone is the president. Thank you, Mr. Barr. Let's go to the next agenda. Agenda number 3, items for discussion. 3.1. Number 1, discuss and consider the current and future role and responsibilities of the CSEC, including but not limited to 1, recreation, and the future report of the Community Recreation and Parks Task Force. Number 2, the Climate Action Plan. Number 3, Plaza Special Event Permits. And number 4, the Tree Committee. City Manager, Mr. Toy, could you please make an introduction from us?
Recording stopped.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So you actually have 3 items. You have the item that the mayor, that's item number 1, discuss, consider the roles and responsibilities of the CSEC with regard to those 4 items with a particular focus on those 4 items. You have another
Recording
item
in
that's talking
progress.
about Park Plaza improvements such as bike racks and consideration of changes to Park Plaza policies, such as allowing dogs on leash in the park. And you have a third item, which is discuss and consider the schedule of CSEC meetings for 2022. So what I thought I would do is just provide real brief background for the entire group, and then you can go from there. So as you may know, that the council had its retreat in September that did discuss the various roles and responsibilities for the various city commissions and committees. And at that time, the council did indicate they'd like to have joint meetings with the different committees before really taking action. At the November council meeting, the council actually had at a council meeting discussion of the roles and responsibilities, and again indicated to schedule joint meetings with the various committees before any actions would be taken. So item 1, as indicated by the mayor, is really discussion of the roles and responsibilities of the CSEC in regards to the Recreation Task Force. And if you like, Lisa Jansen can provide a little more detail on the status of where the Recreation Task Force is with its activities. 2, Climate Action Plan. Now, I should point out that the Joint Climate Action Subcommittee, which consists of 2 CSC members and 2 council members, indicated that they would be responsible for the Climate Action Plan and any recommendations with regard to the sustainability and climate action work plan for the city. And really, perhaps this time is more a confirmation by the council and the CSCC that that's appropriate. We'd like to talk about Park Plaza special event permits. And again, Lisa at that time, when you get to that topic, to provide more information on how that process works. And one of the things the council did talk about at their retreat and at their November meeting was the restructure of the tree committee. Since 2 members of the CSCC sit on the tree committee as well as a certified arborist, we thought it'd be appropriate for the council to have that discussion, with the concept being that perhaps the roles and responsibility of the tree committee become administrative, where staff would take on that responsibility. Really, the primary benefit is the amount of staff time saved to staffing and preparing the agendas and materials for a tree committee. Alternative to that, not so much an alternative, but a thing that we can do is create more of a publicly noticing period whereby maybe red ribbons are tied around trees that are proposed to be removed. And that way the public can comment to staff within a certain period of time before any action is taken. But again, we could talk about more when we get to that. Regarding item 2, has to do with Park Plaza policies. Primarily, we wanted to talk about the concept of allowing dogs in the Park Plaza. Currently, they're not allowed. From a code enforcement perspective, neither staff, code enforcement, or PD really want to be responsible for enforcing that, nor do we really have the resources to do it on an ongoing basis. So one concept is allowing dogs on leash, but not in the playground areas. And that would be the same policy that is in effect in all the city parks. Obviously for farmers market areas, state law doesn't allow dogs within the designated farmers market area. And then we also wanted direction on bike racks in and around the plaza. And then the last item Travis wanted to talk about is the CSCC meeting schedule for 2022. You're supposed to meet at a minimum quarterly, and then it's just kind of a clarification. Should it be quarterly? I think right now maybe you meet perhaps every other month, with 1 month being the joint climate action subcommittee. So with that, that's pretty much the staff report on this. Unless there's any questions, then if you follow the order, then perhaps that would be appropriate for Lisa if you need additional information on a specific item for her to offer her comments at that time.
Thank you.
So I think, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions for staff, then I think you could probably just delve right into item number one.
Yeah. If any other questions from council and the commission, please. Yeah. Mr. Alabak, you are mute. Oh, all right.
Thank you, Mayor Ding. As I'm looking through the agenda item here, I think that, it would certainly be up to the council's thinking about what the current and future roles of the CSEC would be. It seems like the agenda tonight is seeking to kind of close down things that the CSEC has been accustomed to doing. I'm curious about the Recreation and Recs and Parks Task Force, what the schedule for the group will be of when that will come into the public. And for the climate action plan, I was curious if the previous ideas to expand that climate action joint subcommittee had been pursued at all. And I think with the Park Plaza special events, we've reached a nice stasis with Lisa. I'm not sure if Lisa feels like it's still, too much staff time to come and work with the CSEC on that. I think that it's good that the CSEC has some role in overseeing plaza events, because if it became a purely staff function, like with the tree committee, then that would, cut out the potential for citizens to be involved in local government. So I think that as far as my thinking, that it's valuable to have citizen participation is as valuable as efficient government. So those are some of my initial thoughts on that item.
Thank you, Mr. Alabak. Commissioner Black. Vice Mayor Barnett, please.
No, go to Commissioner Blattner first. She had her hand up first. Yeah. Thank you, though.
Okay.
I didn't have my hand up.
I couldn't see you on my screen. Sorry, there's a lot of you here. So thank you, Mayor Ding. I'm glad we're having this joint meeting. I think it's a good time to sort of talk about all of our commissions and sort of the purpose of them. And if they're set up to achieve sort of the goals of them. And if they're not, do they need to be changed or expanded or et cetera? I believe the Community Services and Environment Commission was initially created a long time ago. It may have had a different name, but it was that provided community input to the council and staff on basically community services, which at that time included and still include, our water department, our cemetery, cemetery rates, water rates, parks, basically all of our community services. And over time, I believe staff probably wanted to take back community input over water rates and community input over cemeteries, et cetera. And so inevitably, it just sort of became what it is today. We look at special events here and there, and we talk about climate policy. Moving forward, it's my view that the Community Service and Environment Commission should sort of go back to that original, if it's going to continue, it should really be a focus on community services, which very similar to this new Recreation and Parks Task Force to work with our local community partners in our community services. And so I could envision a future Community Services and Environment Commission working with the Vintage House and the Boys and Girls Club and the Community Center and the Ecology Center, and work with all of our public lands, not just the park and our parks and our plaza. And by the way, it's Plaza Park. I don't know where this park plaza has come from, but it's Plaza Park. But like the Montini Preserve, the Garden Park, and all of our different public lands, and sort of take over some of the responsibilities that this Recreation and Parks Task Force is sort of focusing on now. When that task force ends, I assume at some point there's going to need to be a commission to sort of implement and continue to execute those goals. And so I think the Community Services and Environment Commission would be a good one to focus on that. When it comes to special events, obviously I'd like to hear what the rest of the commission has to think on that and everything, but I just think that we're at a time now where we either need to think about changing what the Community Services and Environment Commission does, or expand their role and sort of go back to what it used to do, which was more community and citizen input on all of our community services. And most of those community services, as presently constituted, have been sort of taken out from that commission, whether it was water, cemetery, Vintage House, Boys and Girls, all that kind of stuff. And so I see a future perhaps as a liaison between all that, but I'm totally open to ideas. And that's why the council wanted to meet with the commission to see your input and see if you feel like you are, empowered with the kind of charge you're looking for, or if you want to do less or more. And so that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Barnett. Hi, Mr. Mora.
Thank you, Mayor Ding. We're certainly covering a range of issues under item 1 this evening, and maybe we want to go back to doing them A, B, C, D in an organized manner. But I liked a lot of what Councilmember Barnett is suggesting about the role of the commission. I wanted to specifically address the special events issue from my perspective over the past year or more. And I wanted to start by congratulating and thanking Lisa Jansen for the excellent work that's been done month after month, quarter after quarter. That having been said, I wonder whether we should either cease what we've been doing as a CSEC regarding special events, or have some new authority to make changes where we believe those changes are appropriate. I feel as if we spend a great deal of time and we have no ability to make any changes, as I've understood it to date, to what's being presented by staff. I feel personally, and I've not, of course, under the Brown Act, coordinated this feeling with my co-commissioners, so I eagerly await their comment, that we're sort of spinning our wheels as we discuss any specific issues in special events. From my point of view, these are often climate-related vehicle transport issues, and we seem to have no ability to say anything except either yes or no, and no on a complete event is a very uncomfortable place to be and the wrong place to be. So I would urge the council to give the CSEC in this arena the kinds of authority that the Planning Commission has on its agenda items to be able to propose, and if we agree as a commission, to make changes to specifics of the event for its forwarding to the council for final approval. So that's my assessed view of that one particular subset in item 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mora. Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to follow up some of Councilman Barnett mentioned. And I refer to the council meeting in December, just a year ago, in which the core mission of the Community Service Environmental Commission was confirmed that the core mission was to advise the city council on matters related to the preservation and enhancement of parks, recreation facilities,